everyone, and welcome back to CoinTalk Podcast for another deep dive. Today we're heading over to Japan to explore how one company is making waves in the Bitcoin world.
Yeah, Japan.
You guys sent us some articles about Metaplanet.
Right.
And their strategy is really interesting.
It is.
So,
very much so.
Let's jump right in.
Yeah, they just dropped $25.6 million on 269.43 Bitcoin.
Whoa.
Bringing their total to over 2,031 Bitcoin.
Whoa, hold on. I got to do the math on that one. But seriously, folks, head over to the CoinTalk Podcast YouTube channel and let us know in the comments how much Bitcoin do you have. Just kidding. Don't actually tell us that, but hit that like button and subscribe while you're there.
Yeah, it's a serious commitment to the Bitcoin Treasury strategy.
Right. So explain that to me. I mean, what is a Bitcoin Treasury strategy?
Well, it's becoming increasingly popular among companies. Essentially, they're treating Bitcoin as a valuable asset, like digital gold, and holding it as a long-term investment.
So they're basically saying, we believe in Bitcoin and we're going to put our money where our mouth is.
Exactly.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
They're doing this in Japan, a country that's been really cautious about crypto.
Right. Japan has always been at the forefront of crypto regulation. They put in some of the first legal frameworks for digital currencies.
Right.
So what Metaplanet is doing is really interesting because it kind of suggests a potential shift in the Japanese corporate landscape.
So could this be a sign of growing acceptance of Bitcoin in a traditionally conservative market?
It could be. It's definitely a signal worth watching.
I mean, if a company in Japan is willing to go this big on Bitcoin, what does that mean for other companies around the world?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah.
We've seen other companies, particularly in the tech sector, adopting similar strategies.
Yeah.
But Metaplanet's move in such a tightly regulated environment is really noteworthy.
This whole thing reminds me of MicroStrategy. Didn't they go all in on Bitcoin a while back?
They did.
Wow.
And it's been quite a ride. MicroStrategy started accumulating Bitcoin back in 2020.
Yeah.
And at one point, they were sitting on billions in unrealized profits.
Really?
Something like $14.85 billion.
$14.85 billion with a B.
Yeah.
That's insane. But hold on, didn't they also report some pretty big losses recently?
They did. In the fourth quarter of 2024, MicroStrategy reported a loss of $670.8 million.
Okay, so what happened? Did Bitcoin suddenly tank or something?
Not exactly. This loss is largely attributed to what's called an impairment charge.
An impairment charge?
Yeah, it's an accounting rule that requires companies to report a loss if the value of their assets, in this case Bitcoin, drops below what they originally paid for it.
So even if they haven't sold any Bitcoin, they have to report a loss just because the price went down?
Right. It's a paper loss, not an actual loss of money.
Okay, I'm starting to get... So even though MicroStrategy is technically down on paper, they're still up overall because of Bitcoin's long-term growth?
Exactly. Their unrealized profits from Bitcoin still outweigh the impairment charge.
Okay. This raises an important question for me, though. If a company like MicroStrategy can take a hit like that, even with massive Bitcoin holdings, what does that tell us about the risks and rewards of a Bitcoin treasury strategy?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Bitcoin's volatility is well documented. It can go up, it can go down, and sometimes it feels like it's on a roller coaster.
Absolutely.
Companies need to be prepared for those swings.
Definitely. And that's why we do these deep dives here on the CoinTalk Podcast YouTube channel.
Right.
We want to help you guys understand the complexities of the crypto world, from Bitcoin treasury strategies to impairment charges and everything in between. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out.
Yeah, it's about understanding both the potential upside and the potential downside. There's definitely opportunity for big rewards, but you can't ignore the risks.
Right. And Metaplanet seems to be going full steam ahead despite those risks.
Right.
They've even set a goal to increase their Bitcoin holdings to a mind-blowing 10,000 by 2025.
10,000 Bitcoin. That's incredibly ambitious even for a company like Metaplanet. If they managed to pull that off, it would definitely send shockwaves through the market.
Especially in Japan.
Especially in Japan, yeah.
I wonder if their success could inspire a whole wave of Japanese companies to jump on the Bitcoin bandwagon.
It'll be interesting to see if this becomes a trend. But for now, let's focus on what we know. Metaplanet is making a big bet on Bitcoin, and they're doing it in a country known for its cautious approach to crypto.
Yeah, that's what makes it so fascinating. Is this a sign that even the most regulated markets are starting to warm up to Bitcoin? We'll explore that more in just a bit, right here on CoinTalk Podcast. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, it's a question a lot of people are asking,
Huh?
especially those watching us here on the CoinTalk Podcast YouTube channel, and it's a valid one. Metaplanet's strategy is bold, to say the least.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, imagine putting that much faith and capital into something as volatile as Bitcoin. It's got to be a wild ride.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important for companies to really assess those risks, before diving headfirst into a Bitcoin treasury strategy. It's not a decision to be made lightly.
So for companies out there that are considering this, what are the potential downsides? What could go wrong?
Well, the most obvious risk is Bitcoin's price volatility. We've seen it soar to incredible heights, but we've also witnessed some pretty dramatic crashes. If Bitcoin were to experience a significant downturn, companies holding large amounts could see their investments lose value quickly.
Yeah, that's a scary thought, especially when you're talking about millions or even billions of dollars.
Exactly. And remember that impairment chart we talked about earlier? If the value of Bitcoin drops below what a company paid for it, they'll have to report a loss even if they haven't sold any.
Right.
That could impact their financial statements and potentially spook investors.
Okay, so volatility is a big concern. What else should companies be thinking about?
Regulation is another crucial factor. The crypto landscape is constantly evolving, and governments around the world are still figuring out how to regulate this new asset class. We've seen some countries embrace crypto, while others have taken a more cautious or even restrictive approach.
Right, and we know Japan falls into that more cautious category.
Exactly. While Japan has been a pioneer in establishing a legal framework for crypto, they've also been pretty strict in their oversight. There's always the risk that new regulations could be introduced that could impact Metaplanet's strategy or make it more challenging for them to manage their Bitcoin holdings.
Okay, so that's definitely something to keep in mind. So we've got volatility and we've got regulation as two major risks associated with a Bitcoin treasury strategy. But what about the flip side? What about the potential rewards? I mean, we've seen MicroStrategy rake in billions in unrealized profits. Could Metaplanet see similar success?
It's certainly possible. If Bitcoin continues its upward trajectory over the long term, Metaplanet could be sitting on a gold mine, so to speak. Their ambitious goal of reaching 10,000 Bitcoin by 2025, if achieved, could result in significant profits.
Right, but that's a lot of ifs. It sounds like this whole Bitcoin treasury strategy is a bit of a gamble.
It is. There's inherent risk involved.
A high-stakes poker game where the chips are digital gold. What do you think should companies be rolling the dice on Bitcoin?
It's a complex question with no easy answer. Ultimately, it comes down to a company's risk tolerance, their long-term investment strategy, and their belief in Bitcoin's potential.
And that's what we love to explore here on the CoinTalk Podcast YouTube channel. We break down these complex topics, give you the information you need, and then let you decide for yourself. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join the conversation in the comments below.
Knowledge is power, especially in the world of crypto.
Absolutely. But here's something I'm curious about. Metaplanet is operating in Japan, a country that's been hesitant about crypto. If they succeed with this bold Bitcoin strategy, could it change the game for other Japanese companies? Could it spark a wave of corporate adoption?
It's definitely a possibility. Metaplanet is kind of like a test case. If they demonstrate that a Bitcoin treasury strategy can be successful even within Japan's regulatory framework, it could encourage other companies to dip their toes into the crypto waters.
Yeah, it's like they're paving the way, showing other companies that it can be done. Yeah. And if that happens, the ripple effects could be huge, not just in Japan, but potentially globally.
Imagine a scenario where major Japanese corporations known for their conservative approach to finance start adding Bitcoin to their balance sheets. It could send a strong signal to the rest of the world that Bitcoin is a legitimate asset class worthy of serious consideration.
That's a pretty compelling thought.
Yeah.
It could be a turning point for Bitcoin, taking it from a niche investment to mainstream adoption.
And that's the kind of insight we aim to deliver here on the CoinTalk Podcast YouTube channel. We want to help you stay ahead of the curve, understand the trends, and make informed decisions in this exciting world of crypto. So if you're enjoying this deep dive, hit that like button and share it with your friends.
Now let's bring it back to Metaplanet. They've got this audacious goal of owning 10,000 Bitcoin by 2025. What would it take for them to actually achieve that?
Well, it's going to require continued investment, of course. They'll need to keep buying Bitcoin, potentially even at higher prices than they've paid in the past.
And they'll have to navigate those risks we talked about, the volatility, the regulatory uncertainty.
Precisely. It's a bold strategy, and it will be fascinating to see how it unfolds. But there's one more piece of the puzzle that we haven't talked about yet.
What's that?
The bigger picture. What does Metaplanet's story tell us about the broader adoption of Bitcoin? Not just by companies, but by society as a whole?
That's a great question. And that's what we'll be exploring next, right here on CoinTalk Podcast. Stay tuned. Okay, so we've talked about Metaplanet and MicroStrategy. Bitcoin Treasury strategies, volatility, regulation, the whole 9 yards. But here's the big question. What does all this mean for the average person? Like, why should they care?
Yeah, that's where it gets really interesting. We've been focusing on this corporate world, but the implications of, widespread Bitcoin adoption, they go way beyond that. We're talking about like a potential paradigm shift, in the way we think about money and finance and even the global economy.
Okay, well, hold on. Paradigm shift.
Yeah,
That's a pretty big statement.
it is.
Break that down for me. What do you mean?
Okay, so think about it this way. Bitcoin is a decentralized digital currency,
Oh,
meaning it's not controlled by any government or any financial institution. It operates on this global network that's accessible to anyone with an internet connection.
right.
This has the potential to disrupt traditional financial systems and give individuals more control over their own finances.
So you're saying Bitcoin could empower people who are currently excluded from the traditional banking system.
Exactly. Imagine a world where you don't need a bank account to send or receive money. You can transact directly with anyone, anywhere in the world without hefty fees or intermediaries.
Wow.
That's the kind of potential Bitcoin offers.
Okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture here. But let's bring it back to Metaplanet for a sec.
Yeah.
If they succeed with this Bitcoin treasury strategy, and if other companies follow their lead, could that accelerate this whole idea of mainstream Bitcoin adoption?
Oh, absolutely. Corporate adoption is a crucial step towards legitimizing Bitcoin in the eyes of the public. When people see these major companies investing in Bitcoin, holding it as a treasury asset, it sends a really powerful message that this is something worth paying attention to.
Right, and that could lead to more individuals feeling comfortable investing in Bitcoin, using it for everyday transactions, even seeing it as a viable alternative to, traditional currencies.
Exactly. It's like a domino effect. Increased corporate adoption leads to more media coverage, more public awareness, and ultimately more individual adoption.
This is making me really excited about the future of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But I also know that a lot of people are still really skeptical about it. They see it as risky, volatile, even a bit shady.
And that's understandable. Bitcoin is still a relatively new technology, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. But as more people learn about it, as they see its potential, those perceptions are starting to change, and companies like Metaplanet are playing a role in that shift.
So what's the takeaway here for our viewers on the CoinTalk Podcast YouTube channel? Should they be rushing out to buy Bitcoin?
Well, as always, I can't give financial advice, but what I can say is that Bitcoin is a fascinating technology with the potential to disrupt the financial world as we know it.
Right.
Whether or not you decide to invest in it, it's really important to understand how it works, its potential benefits, and yes, its risks.
Absolutely. And that's what we strive to do here on CoinTalk Podcast. We bring you these deep dives into the most compelling stories in the crypto world, helping you make sense of this complex and rapidly evolving landscape. So if you're enjoying this episode, hit that subscribe button and join our amazing community of crypto enthusiasts.
And don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know your thoughts on, Metaplanet's strategy or Bitcoin adoption or anything else that's on your mind. We love hearing from our viewers.
We do. Your comments and questions help shape our future episodes and keep the conversation going. But for now, we want to leave you with. This Metaplanet story is just one example of the incredible innovation happening in the crypto world right now. It's a world full of opportunities, challenges, and yes, a bit of risk. But it's also a world that's changing the way we think about money, finance, and technology. So stay curious, stay informed, and stay tuned to CoinTalk Podcast for more deep dives into the fascinating world of crypto. Thanks for joining us.